On this episode, the fellows interview Bobby DeMars from Blind Barrel as they drink through one of their Blind Barrel kits. Tune in to hear what we thought on this episode of The Bourbon Hunters. Have you thought about supporting our podcast? Head on over to our website at bourbonhunters.com where you can by purchasing Bourbon Hunters products and sign up for our Patreon, which includes exclusive access to single barrel announcements from our private barrel club. Thank you for taking time out of your day to join us on our hunt for great bourbon. Reward yourself and sit back, grab a pour, kick up your feet, and enjoy. Welcome to another episode of the Bourbon Hunters. I'm Duke Poole, and I'm joined by
JD Fritches,
Brad Bryan,
Tyler Schaefer.
And today we have Blind Barrels on us. I'm going to go ahead and let you introduce yourself and give us a little, like a quick synopsis, history type of how you got to Blind Barrels.
Hey guys, I'm Bobby DeMars. I'm the CEO and founder of Blind Barrels. And this whole thing was really out of COVID. My backdrop, I played football at USC. I was in the Business Scholars Program. I was the first player to get in the film school there. So I've been an entrepreneur ever since I got out of college, running an education company. I've been a part of a fantasy football startup. I've made documentaries. My last documentary actually took on the NCAA. And I'm on the oversight committee for the nonprofit that created all the NIL laws. So your Ohio State players that you guys are getting, they should be sending me 3% of their checks. Their collectives from the NIL deals. But
they told me the checks in the mail. So
I know. Yeah, we were trying to work it out, but so 5 minutes of my film played at the state senate hearings and played for the Supreme Court to get that NIL passed. And COVID things died down, and I'm like Johnny with idle hands, and I got to do something. And my buddy was doing blinds during COVID, and I'd done it with wine, never done it with whiskey, and I fell in love with it. I wasn't a bourbon hunter. I was more of a drinker than a taster, but man, I loved how nuanced whiskey could be, and I loved the double blind. So single blind is, all right, I got these bottles, and I don't know what order they're in, and I know what the bottles are. I don't know the order. I don't know. To me, that's not that fun. Not knowing anything at all, which is what a double blind is. So we're the only double blind experience out there. And, we're not in a basement with a funnel. There's a lot of legal stuff that has to happen to get other people's whiskey into our bottles. So it took a whole year to kind of put all those partnerships in place and, build the brand. And then we launched in 2022. And, we had a couple hundred members. Now we've got almost 4,000 in 44 states. And, I'd say every kit's getting a little bit better and better and better. I mean, you guys have a kit in front of you right now. 4 people sharing it. You're definitely pushing the limits. Look at those. If you feel those bottles look like they're 100 milliliters, right? Because they're really thick and, it's a lot of glass. We wanted people to, the packaging, we wanted everything to associate these small brands with top shelf. And you may or may not love some of the samples, and I guarantee you there's 1 or 2 in here that you guys will love. Some of our most recent kits, just because as we've gotten bigger, we've gotten better access. We've partnered with Fred Minnick, and we've built a little bit more cachet. So now we've been able to get some badass craft that we've been chasing for 3 years in some of our more recent kit.
That's cool.
So
like
there
you
might
said,
be some bourbon in here that you'll be chasing.
All right. Well, like you said, we've got a kit in front of us here for those of you listening. And I just wanted to kind of break down the packaging first off. I mean, when this came, I didn't know what it actually was at first. And so the box is really, really nice. It's got your logo on it. I'm going to have you describe how you got to that logo because I love it. I think it's pretty cool. But it's just a black box basically with like a gold colored logo just in the middle. And it's a nice glossy presentation. And you open it up, and in there's some paperwork that comes with it. And then we also have 4 bottles, basically. And like you said, they're nice presentations of the bottles. But the container itself that they're in is really nice. It's got like foam cutouts for each one of the bottles. So you can tell that there was some time put into the design, but also just some thought, behind everything. And going back to that logo. So what is that? A monkey with sunglasses and a top hat? Is that what we got?
Technically, it's a chimp.
A chimp?
But
okay.
it's kind of it's a steampunk monkey. Yeah, we call him a monkey too. So
Do you sell stickers with that logo?
No, but we have them, and we sometimes put them in packages and whatnot. But we probably could sell stickers. Our hats are really premium. You got that green bill underneath it. So I mean, our hats wholesale are actually pretty expensive. So we do pretty good merchandise with the hats and the shirts. We haven't really sold the stickers, but the monkey came from, whenever you're creating a brand or a company, one of the things, especially when you're raising money, what you want to do is you want to create the brand because it becomes tangible, it becomes real, it becomes more than just an idea. And so I wanted to create the logo. The idea was, the see no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil, the three monkeys, right?
Yeah.
So this was going to be the see no evil monkey. And blind, I had these designers come up with like the tail was like blinding the monkey, and he had like a whiskey in his hand, and he was smiling. And we got some of that. It looked really cartoony. So the idea of it in my head wasn't as cool. And then this one designer came in with the steampunk monkey, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? It was way cooler than what I imagined. And then we made some adjustments to it. Like before he showed his teeth, we got rid of the teeth, and we adjusted the hat. And then eventually we were Blind Spirits, and we became Blind Barrels, so then we added the barrel. And then so the evolution of the logo. And then, at the end of the day, we want something that kind of felt classic, but also modern at the same time, like a really cool tattoo. So that's where it came from, and now he's kind of our ambassador. He's our cool monkey or monk. Whiskey was created by monks, right? So there's a tie-in, maybe. I don't know.
I like it though. No, I mean that's the first thing that jumped out at me was the logo. So like you pull it out of the package that it was shipped in, and that's the first thing that you're staring at. So that's a really cool, just kind of ambassador to the shipment, if you will. Just the way it's just looking at you. It's almost like I don't know, something. So I don't know how old you are, but the movie Monkey Shines. So like I kind of get like it's almost like something's waiting for me type of thing feeling.
Wasn't Elizabeth Shue in that one?
I don't remember that. To be honest, I don't remember any of the actors.
Shower scene.
Oh, maybe.
Pretty sure there's like
you not knowing movie
stuff
stuff is shocking.
Well, here's the thing.
That's a rarity.
Especially with Elizabeth Shue. You love her.
Oh, she's
hot. Like, don't get me wrong.
She's on my
list. She had a run in the 80s.
Oh,
yeah.
Right? She was in Karate Kid, Adventures in Babysitting.
She
was the replacement for Jennifer in Back to the Future.
Don't forget,
don't forget Cocktail. Because the original actress, like, I think her mom had cancer or something, so she came and replaced it. But I think like her first big role, I think it was Monkey Shines. And there's a shower scene with Elizabeth Shue. And my little 8-year-old self knew that I liked it, and I didn't know why I liked it yet. But I watched it many times.
That is hilarious.
You're giving me some definite Burt Kreischer vibes right now, just so you know. I'm sure you get that a lot, but...
I got to take my shirt off?
I mean, please do. No.
Well, I see she was in a Burger King commercial in 1982, and then Karate Kid in 1984. I'm looking.
I'm just like 83, right?
I'm going to have to look up Monkey Shine separately. I just looked up Elizabeth Shue because that's where my head was at, but let me see.
Which one?
Speaking of old commercials, remember the Seth Green Rallies commercials?
Yeah, I do remember Seth Green and Rallies.
Cha-ching.
He was in a bunch of stuff. Did you ever see what was called Airborne?
That rollerblades movie in Cincinnati.
He had some wild hair in that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the kid that's the cool kid that he befriends, and he's trying way too hard to be cool. He's so unlikable, but I fucking love that movie.
Yeah, I do too. I loved that movie growing up.
That was a good movie.
Speaking of comedians, Tires just announced their second season is coming out.
Nice.
June 5th.
Yeah, I thought they announced that like a month or two ago.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, we had a whole conversation about that.
No, they announced that it was
June.
coming out, but I didn't think it would.
No,
they
they
announced
said
actual June 5th.
They may not have said June 5th, but they said in June
Cool.
because we had a whole conversation about it with Jeff Trust. Anyway, let's get into the first drink here. So we've got the first one. I don't know if it makes a difference or if they're always shipped in the same order and for each kit, but we opened the first one on the left.
Nice legs.
Yeah, that's incredible legs on that one.
And what's the what are you guys getting on the nose? I was nosing it a little bit.
Yeah. I'm getting a little like vanilla butterscotch.
Yeah, I'm getting like a vanilla buttery popcorn type of
like a butter popcorn. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can get that. Get down with the butter popcorn.
That's in the aroma notes.
Oh, good.
So you guys are off to a good start.
The popcorn is the note that I. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say the popcorn is the note that I could not really pinpoint for a second there, but that's it.
Yeah, it is. You know what this kind of actually tastes like to me? This tastes a little bit like leather and oak to me, which is actually a Hilliard, Ohio distillery.
That's an interesting one.
There's like an unsalted nuttiness to it.
Yeah. I don't know what type of nut. It's not like a peanut to me.
No,
but it's
maybe like a pistachio.
Pistachio. That's good. Yeah, I like that.
I get like a hint of a fig for me in this. I don't know why, but I smell
On
some
the nose
fig.
or on the palate?
On the nose. I haven't
Okay.
tasted.
There's a little bit of a dustiness to it too.
Yeah.
Some of them. I'm having Watershed right now. You guys are probably familiar with them. They're out of Columbus, aren't they?
Which one?
Yep.
Which watershed?
I think it's the Bottled and Bond. I think.
Okay.
Is
It's one
Pretty
of the
sure.
ones I actually enjoy.
Yeah, we're not horrible. Oh, at least I can't speak for all of us. I'm not a big fan of Watershed personally. I don't know if you've ever had Middle West Spirits. It's out of Columbus.
I love Middle West.
Yeah,
The-
Middle
the-
West is
Yeah.
In my
They're on
opinion,
our first lineup.
yeah.
Oh, nice.
So Middle West Pumpernickel Rye was on our first lineup.
There you go.
Was it cast strength?
It's no, but you know it's funny if you look at the bottle difference, the wholesale bottle price of like so we sell Middle West Pumpernickel Rye to our members for $50. Most people can't even get that. Like in California, if you find it, it's like $80. We sell it for
Damn.
$50.
Didn't know that.
So, but the wholesale of the cast strength is on a fucking other price level. We know them really well. We want to put them back in the lineup because we only had 200 members when they were in the lineup, and everything they make is awesome.
Yeah.
Like they're,
Yeah, we love their stuff.
their Olorosa. They got
Yep.
the Pumpernickel Rye Olorosa finish. It's fucking phenomenal. But we're gonna bring them back for sure.
They're one of our first friends of the podcast, if you will, because they're local for one. But they've always been good to send us stuff and have us down on site. And we toured their new facility when they moved into that new distillery in Columbus, and they've just always we've had Rudra. I don't know if you've ever talked to Rudra, but we've had him on the show. We've had Ryan, the master distiller. He's been on one time, and we did a barrel pick with him. They were our first.
We've
barrel
done
pick.
3 picks with them now total.
Right. I mean, Ryan
was in one.
Yeah. So, but yeah,
Their rye is one of our favorites.
it is the dark pumpernickel rye
And
is so
the
good.
cast strength version of their rye is just a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Just a whole nother level.
They have a shelfer offering now of their wheated whiskey, their bourbon, their 4 grand bourbon,
The Michaelone.
and then their cask strength rye. They have a a shelfer version of all 3 of those in cask strength now.
Yeah. What's
I think we're going to be working towards a special release for something that they do when they come back. Like whenever we bring on a brand, that's kind of our goal. If it's something that's really accessible, if they're outside of their state and they're in like 10 or more states, we try to get like a special release with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Something that hasn't come out yet, or something like our current box. I won't tell you what's in it because it's called Heat, and it's a partnership with Randy Sullivan from Bourbon Real Talk.
Oh, nice.
And so we always kind of do a pop culture reference, like you guys are doing the Untouchables. There's a reason for that theme. So we usually do it like a movie or a song title, like as the title of the actual kit. And Heat, obviously, it's a great movie because you got De Niro and you got Pacino.
Kilmer.
Kilmer,
Such
too,
a
yeah.
phenomenal movie. Kilmer's in it, right? It's heavy hitters. And yeah, everything in there is cast strength. There's a hazmat in the lineup. And, one of the things when we sell bottles, like we sell that Middle West Pumpernickel Rye for $50. Now, because we have fulfillment partners and we have shipping discounts, I think we make 70 cents when we sell a bottle of that. And, some investors that we've been talking to because we're raising money right now are like, why aren't you upselling the bottles? And it's like, well, no, that's part of the membership is that we don't do that to you. We get you access and then we give you really killer prices that, I think if you go get Middle West Pumpernickel Rye, at the distillery, it's $50. There might be some liquor stores in your area because it's in the vicinity, but that's what it is there, and that's what we try to sell it. I always have a bottle of Midwest Pumpernickel Rye at my house because when someone comes over and they go, "You have any bourbon?" And I'm like, "I got a bourbon for you." And then I pour that, and they go, "This is an amazing bourbon." And I go, "It's a fucking rye." And they're like, "I'm allergic to rye," and their face blows up. No,
But who
I love
won? You
dispelling
won.
that, right?
So are you
Yeah,
going to do
exactly.
like a contagion box with just hazmat?
Contagion. That's fantastic.
Oh God! Oh, that would be dope, right?
Yeah.
All hazmats. Although this last one, so our December kit had Dark Arts. It was 108 proof. It had Taconic, cask strength rye, barrel proof rye. That was 115. And then it had a barrels pick from Still Austin. So we picked 2 barrels and we blended them together. And it wasn't our 2 favorite barrels. It was the barrels that blended well together. And I'm telling you, this barrels pick was just off the charts. And if I had 900 bottles of them, I could sell them tomorrow. And so everything in that was pretty hot, with the exception of the first sample in the lineup, which was 100 proof from Andalusia in Texas, which isn't really well distributed, but a killer single malt. And everyone was fine with that. But then somebody on the heat box said, "Can you send us something the next kid? Can you make sure that it's not so hot?" And I'm like, you can proof it down, right? You can
put some water in
ice cube.
Right.
Like, that's the whole point of it. Yeah.
That's funny.
I'm not changing the whole lineup because
Right.
one of our members said
One
it was
of our-
uncomfortable.
One of our favorite, barrels to this day was something from Taconic.
Yeah, still to this day.
Taconics
Yeah.
are
But
so
it was a bourbon. It wasn't a rye.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still
they're
one of my
maple.
favorites.
Yep.
Yeah.
Their maple finished. Their maple's really good. Or
This
the Duchess.
was just a
This
regular.
was-
This
had to be
wasn't
five
finished.
years ago at this point.
Yeah, it's been a while ago. Actually, I don't think their master distiller that was on our podcast is there anymore. But he had come from Buffalo Trace, and then he had gone up to New York, I think, which is where Taconic is, I believe. And then
upstate New York.
yeah, I can't remember his name off the top of my
Finger
head,
Lakes.
but he I don't think he's there anymore. But yeah, that was good. They had a single barrel that was so good, so good.
Yeah, no, we're big fans. The last time we had a hazmat until before this lineup was we had a 26-year from Cat's Eye. That was now it was 159 proof, and I think there's 13 states where you can't ship above 153, so we actually had to proof it down to 151.
Oh, wow.
Because it was just, and yeah, that was like a $250 bottle. I think we sold that for 130.
Jeez.
Wow.
That's crazy.
120. But yeah, it was just one of those bangers. And sometimes when you're working with the distributor, you work with the distillery, and I don't negotiate their wholesale price down. I'm like, oh, whatever your wholesale is, we'll figure it out so that our members get a good deal. But sometimes I'm like, hey, we're gonna sell a lot of these. Is there any way I'll talk to the distributor? I'm like, can you just lower your cut a little bit so we can sell this at just a killer price, and we'll move it like crazy.
Right.
We had this 10-year. So we've never done a white label. Our rules are it's got to be craft, it's got to be American, and the retail bottle's got to be at least $50. So most of them are in that $50 to $80 range, but sometimes they're up to $130. Sent us this bottle, and you've probably seen it. It's a holiday bottle with the bullets on the
Yeah.
You've seen it. And there's a gimmicky thing that actually has guns in it, and so World Whiskey Society, they're sourcing all this whiskey. And it was fine. It was MGP, and they do killer finishes. They do a tequila and a Mizunara. They do really, really good finishes. But they sent us this 10-year of the Doc Holiday, and I'm like, is this MGP? And they're like, no, it's these barrels we found in Texas that were from this family of moonshiners for 150 years, where this guy Carlos Lavelle, for 150 years, they were making whiskey illegally and bouncing across the Appalachians and evading the feds. And when he was in his 70s, his daughter convinced him to go legit, and he started a distillery called Ivy Mountain, and he was making this Sour Mash, Georgia moonshine. He wasn't aging it, but then he was aging some of them for 6 months. And when people make whiskey, sometimes they're not good at it, and they never get good at it. Well, this guy was making whiskey his whole life, and he then died 3 years into it. All these barrels that were going to age 6 months sat there for 5 years, and the family offloaded them. Bardstown put it in their Explorer series and their Fusion series. The rest ended up in Texas for 5 years, which, that Texas heat, that 5 years is 9 or 10. And these guys found the barrels, brought it back to Georgia. And I'm telling you, my guys thought I put William LaRue Weller in a blind, because it was so rich and deep. It tasted like an 18-year, maybe one of the best bourbons I've ever had.
That's so cool.
And we just sold that out of existence, I think that bottle now goes for $500. If you go look up if you look up the 10-year that's readily available, it's not that anymore. But the one that's this Carlos Lavelle's, this story that we made them put a neck tag on, it's out of this world. And I think we sold it for $120. And it normally went for 180 to 200. And now it's it doesn't exist anymore. So it's just one of those bottles that if you can find it, I think it's as good as any unicorn bottle that you'll ever find.
Wow.
There's a place in Alabama that kind of fits that mold called Detling.
we've got a whole bunch of that.
They're in
back
the
here.
middle of nowhere, and yeah, he just makes a set amount of bottles each year. Doesn't care about profits. He just does it for the passion.
Nice.
Got a whole bunch of those samples back
Yeah,
here. if you
I
want
need to
some.
try that
Yeah.
Deadling that you got.
Oh yeah, I'll try some.
All right, so what do we think of that
So you
first
guys
one?
want to take any guesses on this? You guys
Yeah.
want to take any guesses on like age, proof, location? I don't know. You can make guesses if you want.
I feel like the malt's a little higher on this one.
Yeah, the more I drank it, the more I felt that might be the case as well.
It's got a good empty glass nose to it too.
You need to put your mic just a little closer to your mouth.
Don't
Yeah.
tell me what to do.
I feel just on initial thought that this is a little young,
Yeah.
but that could just be the corn coming through. I don't know, but that makes me feel like it's a little young. That buttery popcorn taste I got, but then like you said, as I drank more of it and maybe just had a little chance to open up, I do feel a little maltier on the last couple. But
I could see it being about 4 or 5 years old though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Proof wise, I think it's under 100.
yeah, it didn't seem like super proofy
Yeah.
at all. It was in the probably I'd say in the mid 90s maybe or something like that. But yeah,
You guys are killing it. You guys are on point with all the things you're saying.
I don't see it being higher than 3 to 5 years. That's my guess. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like right around that 3-year range, but I could be wrong. Brett's
So this
quiet.
one, it's
I'm
4
with you
years.
guys. That's
Oh,
why
sorry.
I'm like, yeah, no. They're like, you didn't say anything. I'm like, no, I thought the same thing. Like 4 years old. I feel like under 100 proof, like 95, 92, something like that. So nothing to contribute.
Well, you're contributing information. That's exactly right. So it is 4 years.
Okay.
It's exactly 95 proof. And this is from Chambers Bay Distillery in University Place. They're actually in Puget Sound. And what's really fascinating about this brand is they're aging the whiskey on boathouses. So it's a different form. There's almost a little bit of a saltiness into it. Like, it's what's the one? Is it barrel that is the seagrass? Or which is the one?
Jefferson's Ocean.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really ever buy into the gimmicky stuff, but this one's interesting because it's on a barge. So you end up with these barrels where there's a lot of different character to them because they're sloshing around all the time. And so is that rapid maturing? I don't know. But we kind of like the story behind it. And yeah, it's a little grain forward for sure. It's a little younger than we normally have in the lineup. So a couple of these, we usually will have like one younger one in the lineup than normal, and then others that, like I said, sometimes it's 15 and 26 years. Sometimes we get some really well-aged stuff. With craft, though, you're generally going to be finding most stuff that's going to be in that 4 to 8 range.
Yeah.
And,
It's not
and every now and
off-putting,
again,
No, it's
yeah.
even though it tastes youthful, there was
Yeah.
nothing.
No,
bad about
I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now Chambers Bay, is that out west?
Yeah, it's in Washington.
Washington,
It's
I
in the
figured.
Puget
Yeah.
Sound.
Okay.
And it's funny because I feel like when you mentioned the maybe like a saltiness or something like that, that might be what's making me think a little bit maltier. Is that because now that you mentioned that, it kind of made me think salty. But that's interesting. Yeah,
There's no rye. It's 70 corn, 20 wheat, and 10% malted barley.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean that makes me feel good. Like I got a pretty heavy corn note at the very beginning. So yeah, that's good.
What's funny is Jefferson's Ocean kind of has that same salted caramel flavor to it as well. So I don't know if there is something small to that or not with the sloshing in the barrels. I have no idea. When I was first getting into it, even though it's kind of gimmicky, I kind of liked it because it tells you like the journey that it took and like where it went through the ocean, and they're all a little different. So
that is cool.
I think it's cool. You know what I mean? I do think it's neat. And it'll say like, oh, we had rough seas going through this, the Strait of Gibraltar or whatever it may be. Something
no,
like
what
that.
I liked about that is that was kind of going back to what I think a lot of people really like now is that LTO type of mentality. So like each voyage was a little bit of a different offering, a little bit of a different, profile, different interactions with the wood, different whatever, heat cycles through the places they voyaged or whatever. So I think that was always kind of cool. And yeah, accelerated maturation. I think there is something to that. However, I've always argued that you can't accelerate oxidation, but you can accelerate, interaction with the wood or, the heat going into the wood further, like Texas, for example. You get that quick interaction with the wood. It turns, a dark color quickly, but I just feel like you don't lose that graininess as quickly as quickly as it browns, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So for me, I do think there is such a thing as accelerated maturation, but you're just not getting the full effect, in my opinion. You're just not getting that oxygen and whatever that does to it over time.
Yeah, the only remedy for real aging is time in a barrel, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I had some of this rum once. Have you ever heard of Black Tot?
No.
It's Black Tot rum, and you can find it. And there was a form of it called the Last Consignment, and the Royal Navy was carrying all this rum, and the ship went down, and they actually salvaged the barrels from the shipwreck, and and then they bottled it. And
That's cool.
And there was something just badass about that story when you're drinking it. I'm not a massive rum guy, but I loved that I was tasting something that had kind of a story and a history to it.
Yeah.
Well, JD and I just did an episode that comes out tomorrow, actually, right?
Yeah.
And it's basically a rum cask finished bourbons, and then at the end of it, we did 2 rums that were finished in bourbon barrels.
Yep.
So that was pretty interesting, and those were pretty good.
What were the bourbons you had finished in the rum barrels that you guys liked?
We did the
Jefferson Reserve old rum cask,
Right.
Blood Oath
Blood Oath.
5, which is rum, and then I brought a Rabbit Hole Sea Song, which is rum finished, and I also brought Peerless rum finished.
Nice.
And I do not remember what
sometimes
the 2 rums were that were finished in bourbon.
Mine was a Nashville Barrel Company 7
That's
year.
right,
It was
yeah.
137 proof.
Do you remember what mine was?
And yours was the 12 year. Started with a P, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't.
It was a single barrel.
It wasn't
12 year.
Papa Pilar, was it? Or
Pilar. It might have
was
been
it?
Pilar.
I don't know. I'll have to go check. But yeah.
I mean, I love Nashville barrels phenomenal, but I'd say a lot of times when there's a rum finish, it's for me most of the time it's too rummy. It's like
Agreed.
I want some rum notes,
Too
I want some
sweet.
vanilla notes, and
Yeah.
it's too
Agreed.
rummy. And we have one coming up actually in our June lineup that you wouldn't know is a rum finish because the notes are very subtle, but it's phenomenal. It's a distillery out of Indiana.
That's one of the reasons we really liked the Blood Oath, because it was only a third of the barrels used were actually finished in. So you had 2 regular and then 1, a bourbon finish. So only a third of it was affected by that rum finish, if you will.
Yeah, you might not even know it, right?
Yeah.
If they didn't tell you.
it's definitely, once you know it, it's for sure there. But you don't get that like filminess on your teeth like you do on other rum finishes, where all the sugar cane or whatever it is that, feels like you just had some candy in your mouth.
Right.
Do you guys bottle your own for these kits, or does the wholesaler or the distillery do them for you guys?
We have to have an independent bottler, and,
Okay.
and yeah, if we had the distillery do it, it would be an issue because how do you really get consistency in the fill and
Sure.
the process, and there's a lot of legal stuff that has to happen in between all of this stuff. But our bottles are washed at like 190 degrees, and it's not just reverse osmosis. So there's a process to everything. I mean, it's custom glass. We had this glass made. That took a whole year. That whole process is really fascinating because you don't see a lot of glass 50 mLs,
Yeah.
So there aren't a lot of places that can even do it. So you have to pay for molds to make your glass. And we went through like 9 molds to make this glass before we finally did it and figured it out. But no, we're not doing the bottling ourselves. Legally, like technically we're in the 3rd tier. We're retailers, so we're making the point of sale. And we're orchestrating everything from beginning to end, but we're not in the other tiers. So there's a distributor involved. There's a first tier. There's technically 2 first tiers in the way that we do it. But yeah, we figured out about 6 ways to do what we wanted to do, and right now we're using the best way. But we might have even another way to do it. So we're always kind of looking for bigger, better mousetraps.
Yeah, it looks great.
But no, I'll say as you guys get into the next sample, make sure you get a water rinse so we're not getting any of that sea salt going into the next one.
I think we all used fresh glasses on
Yep.
this one. I have rinsed my last one, though, for the next
Oh,
one.
there you go. Nice.
So let's jump into the second one. After the second one, I kind of want you to guide us through what that process is for a member, when they, from signing up to receiving their box, and how, you recommend going through that process of blinding these and so on. And so what that member experience would be like.
Yeah, so I mean, if somebody signs up, we send them a kit immediately. So we just did our March release. All of our kits release mid-March, mid-June, December. It's really about backing up from Christmas, right? So we make sure our kits arrive in everybody's hands before Christmas in December.
Yeah.
September, generally ship September 15th. June, we try to get out a little early, just depending on when Father's Day is. So because we get a lot of people that jump in or buy gifts for Father's Day, and we try to get them a week before Father's Day out, and shipped in March. So like right now, if somebody orders in April, they don't have to wait for the June release. We send them the March kit immediately, and then they get the next releases in the order. So what's really important is that, we're big proponents of the whiskey community, and what you guys are doing right now, great whiskey is meant to be shared, right? So we want people that are friends and brothers and sisters and parents and coworkers that are in other states or other cities or whatever, everybody gets the same kit at the same time, and they commit to checking in every quarter. We also do live tastings with our members. We do 2 every quarter. So we just did one last Friday. We had 100 plus people on. We're going to have another 100 plus people on this Friday. And it's really an educational part, figuring out what you want. The whole point of a blind, you guys know, it's about removing the bias. So a lot of times you're like, oh, well, how cool does that bottle look? That bottle looks really cool. Or the price point, or your buddy liked it, so you assume you're going to like it. Well, my buddy has horrible taste in women too, so why am I going to, why am I going to assume I like the bottle he likes? So, a lot of times we're making decisions. I mean, we've all purchased a bottle before that we didn't like, and we're like, and then there's the ones that we like, and we continue. You hunt those bourbons. Sometimes those allocated whiskeys that you try to find, you start searching it again because you know that you like it. Whereas this is like, if I got 20 people in a room, 3 people are going to say A is their favorite. The same will be true for B, same will be true for C, same will be true for D. And there will be someone in the room that hates A, and someone in the room that hates C, and someone hates D, and so on. So you can't please everybody. The guy that you ran into that's a member, yes, like our last few kits have, I'd say the last year, every kits has been just all bangers. We try to make sure that there's diversity in the lineup. So the notes that you're getting in A aren't going to be anything like B, C, or D. They're all going to be. So if we do have something that's a well-aged traditional bourbon in the lineup, the other ones probably won't be. And they may be different mash bills, and they may be different. I mean, I just held up a bottle of, I don't know if you guys have had JT Mellick, 100% Louisiana rice whiskey.
I have not.
It's mind-blowing. We're going to sell so many of these bottles because if you taste something, you can make assumptions of what you think rice whiskey tastes like. Everyone thinks it's a bourbon. So you get people like, I only drink bourbon. You'll fucking love this. It's deep, it's rich, it's awesome, but it's a curveball, right? Because there aren't really a lot of people doing 100% rice whiskey, and they grow crawfish in the rice, and they're really crawfish farmers, and they decided to make whiskey with the rice. So, killer whiskey, interesting mash bill, great story. It checks all the boxes for us. And this is a bottle that, if you can find it in your area, because it's not in most states, you're paying, $90 for that bottle, and we sell it for $60. So, you can make all the money back on your subscription just in what you save when you're buying a bottle.
Yeah,
That's nice.
very nice.
So let's nose this one. What do you guys get on
So
this?
to me, this is like a hot toddy. It has like this very faint cinnamon, but like this peaty, hot bourbon apple drink nose to it.
I definitely get a peatiness. Something reminiscent of, what would make me think like maybe a single malt or a scotch or something like that. You not getting that, JD, from your facial expression?
I'm getting candy. Like, I'm getting caramel apple, cherry Jolly Rancher.
Well, that's, a hot toddy is
kind of
yeah,
overlaps that, but
yeah.
I'm not getting any of that.
I was getting more like roasted notes. Like I was getting like toffee,
I'm getting more like baking spices and
Yeah, that's what I mean.
really.
and yeah, like
Nutmeg.
yeah, maybe nutmeg, but
I get a touch of fig again for some reason. I don't know why that's in my nose still.
For whatever reason, I am getting some peatiness.
I had some fig Newtons on the way over, so maybe.
It's on the palate too.
It's not a cookie, Mother. It's a fake news. You eat cookies in bed?
Oh,
That's another classic commercial.
with Elizabeth Shue. No, she's not in that one.
Oh,
I think you guys are hitting on a great point about this particular brand in that this is a nuanced whiskey. You know, I'd say what you guys are hitting on a lot of notes that are involved in it. I'd say this is one of those ones that it is kind of like an everlasting gobshite. This is one where if you let it sit in the glass, it's a totally different whiskey in about 5 minutes and in 10 minutes. And the front end, the palate, and the finish are all kind of different phases to this particular whiskey. And this is a brand that it's one of the few farm to bottle operations. So as you know, nearly if you're a distillery that's making your own stuff and you're not sourcing, they generally are sourcing the grain, right? And they usually source locally, but they're not growing their own grain. This is one of the few, and this one's not too far from you guys in a sense. If I know something about geography, I might be wrong. But I can only think of two that come to mind that grow their own grain and make their own whiskey.
Yeah,
Well,
me too. But one's out west, Frey Ranch.
That's where my brain went when I heard that.
And
Was
then
Frey Ranch.
Ranch.
Peerless does as well. I believe.
Peerless does too.
I think
There's one that we don't love, although we did have some of it recently that changed our mind. With the blood corn.
Oh, Jephthah Creed.
Jephthah Creed. Yes.
yeah.
The Bloody Butcher, which is
Yes.
their special release.
Their 4 grain
they've
was the
sent
one we
us
liked.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, their normal releases, we were kind of like, we've done. So what happens? Our process is we don't pick brands, we pick whiskey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the other room, I've got 400 bottles of whiskey that people send to us, and a lot of early on we were reaching out to people, or we didn't have a lot of brands reaching out to us. Now we've got about 10 to 20 brands that reach out to us every month, and we vet them. We make sure that their product kind of hits our criteria. Sometimes they're brands that we've heard of and that we love and we'd love to have in the lineup. Sometimes they're brands that we tried to talk to 3 years ago that never got back to us, and now they're reaching out to us. But it has to pass a blind. So my whiskey wizards, or my spirits guides, as I like to call them, I set up blinds for them. That's the kind of irony about what I do, is I don't get to do blinds anymore. But my guys get to do 40 blinds every I try not to give them too many samples, but some places have like 8 SKUs and they send us 8 full bottles. And so,
Yeah, and you're like, fuck. This is going to be a great night.
Yeah, terrible problem.
Exactly. Like, everybody get the coffee grounds out and get the, set your palate. We try to, but then they go through it, and anything that gets like a B+ rating or more, something that we want to explore. Sometimes you'll get somebody in the group that's just mediocre, and then you'll get a bunch of people in the group that are like, this is phenomenal, and we explore it more. And then so sometimes it's not just the brand, it's like Middle West, great example. They sent us like 7 bottles. Like, we're gonna just throw you a bourbon cream too. Like, we'll never put that.
Yep.
It's fucking good. Have you had the Schmello
No.
that they did? It's a flavored whiskey that they did with Swiss Miss.
What?
It's called Schmello.
How did that slip under the radar?
I don't know.
It's fucking phenomenal.
Oh, I bet.
don't
Sounds
care what
good.
you say. It's like
No, that
it's a
sounds like it would be
marshmallow whiskey that's so good.
I see. A
it's
marshmallow
sweet and
whiskey is
sticky.
a flavored whiskey I could probably
Yeah.
get behind.
So,
Yeah, I don't usually go for the flavored whiskey. We had one flavored whiskey in the lineup that it's technically a flavored whiskey, Vermont Distilling Company. It's a maple infused Vermont maple, but it's not this big sweet maple bomb. It's a 5% infusion, so it's so subtle, and it kills in a blind. I mean, it destroys
I
people.
could see that. Maple's a good. I think that's a really good, especially if it's in a bourbon. I just think it's a very good complement to bourbon, especially if it's subtle.
But it's not this over sweet. But I was at I think it's Devil's River, the one in San Antonio. Batista just got behind it. We went there and they poured Glens. I swear to God, they just pours it. We had like 16 samples that they like filled them up. I'm like,
That's
what the fuck
crazy.
is happening? And we just come from a distillery where we drank from like 50 barrels, and so we were already like, Jesus Christ. And they poured their cinnamon flavored whiskey, and I bought a bottle of that shit and brought it home. It was fucking phenomenal. I normally hate like Fireball and
Yeah.
all that.
Same.
but
I'm not a
it was
cinnamon
made-
fan.
Well, so we
made
just
with
did a
real cinnamon.
we just did a pick at Jack Daniels, and they did their Jack Daniels Fire in a drink as they gave the tour, and you had a choice between a cider or a hot chocolate. I was the only one who did the hot chocolate. Everyone else did the cider, but everyone loved it. Like I'm not a Fireball guy either, but I could see myself getting some Jack Daniels Fire for like a winter drink, like a hot cider or something like that. It was phenomenal.
Hey, when somebody has Dickens brand cider, I usually go for it.
Yeah. On those cold winter nights, you have a hard Dickens cider. Old Bob and Tom skit.
So
I always have the Jim Beam honey at my house because my brother-in-law loves it. And what it has happened so many times, it's like, I'll go take a shower. Some family shows up early. Next thing you know, I see my brother-in-law, and he's got a big glass of whiskey. And I'm like, my wife, I'm like, what the fuck's in his glass? And he won't just pour whiskey. He'll pour a bunch of whiskey over crushed ice, which to me is sacrilegious.
Yeah.
Crushed ice, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck, bro. Like, if you're just... And so now I just keep a bottle of the honey, the Jim Beam honey out there, because I know he'll
want
pour
this one?
straight up.
I didn't know if you wanted to change. I didn't know how
Oh,
big
I don't
yours
care.
was.
Yeah, whatever.
Well, no, that one's lower, I think. You
You trying to like measure up with me?
So let's
make sure you don't get
I'm kidding.
too
Let's,
much.
Everybody tosses on the table.
So we didn't figure out what the second one was
Yeah.
yet,
Yeah.
did we?
We did not.
So the second one, you guys were hitting at a lot of cool notes. So this is 100 proof. This is bottled in bond. It's a bourbon. And it's Whiskey Acres.
You broke up there.
Whiskey Acres.
What was
Whiskey
it?
Acres.
Whiskey Acres.
Okay. I have not.
Illinois. So they're seed engineers. So they are all about, like, it's not just growing the grain. They, like, engineer, like, actual seeds. And they have a Bloody Butcher, by the way. They do release. They have a blue popcorn release. We tried to get the Bloody Butcher. It's so good by itself. It's so good in a cocktail. It's on another level. We got their bottle and bond bourbon, and it's great. It's a 4 year. No, it's 5 years. 75 10 corn, 15 red winter wheat, 10% malted barley, and yeah, it's got a touch of cinnamon. So you picked up on that. It's got vanilla, herbal tea. The tasty notes are sweet caramel corn, dark wood. It's got ripe apples straight from the orchard. So there's a lot of interesting nuance. There's definitely some fruit, some candied fruit that you guys were getting. And the finish has kind of a red berries fading into a peppery spice.
I like that
So
one
that's
a
what we
lot.
have for a taste.
Yeah, I wonder if that peatiness was like the tea that you talked about.
Yeah.
Because I just wasn't. For some reason, I couldn't get past that part of it. But the flavors, when I tasted it, were actually pretty good.
I enjoyed it. I really did.
Yeah. But the
It's
nose from me was tough to get past. But the palate was
Had a
enjoyable.
nice long finish too.
Yeah.
That's some 8 year now. There's some of their stuff's getting just older and older.
What did
Yeah,
I
I'd
just
love
smell?
So
I know.
as I was doing this,
So we have the third one in the glass now, and I just
I'm
took a
getting like
nose of
red
it, and it's-
licorice.
Yeah, there's something very candy-esque in this one.
you know what I get on it.
Oh, here we go.
Buckle up.
When I was young, we always had.
JD always has these crazy stories.
When I was young, we always had this tin, and there was a trifold in there, and it had popcorn, caramel popcorn, cheese popcorn, and if you took a handful of all three blends and put them to your nose, that's what I get.
I don't know if
You're the guy that when there was just flakes of it left, you like dab your finger.
Oh, absolutely.
Just so you know, at that point,
finger
it's like
fun dip the popcorn.
70% penis skin.
Yeah.
That's all that's in there.
Interesting.
No, I get
So-
all the popcorns. Seriously, it's
It's definitely buttery on the nose.
It's buttery. I get maybe some caramel, so I could see the two that you're talking about. I don't get the.
I don't get the cheddar popcorn either,
The
but the other
cheddar.
two I get.
But I get the butter and the caramel. Well,
If I
also-
try hard,
well,
I might be able to like
I get
some
caramel
cheddar.
and I get some caramel.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I'm gonna hijack this
big surprise.
this next one
Big
for
surprise.
us.
Buckle up for the dumbest question you've ever heard.
You already got
So-
three. You already got three poured.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
We're 3 is poured. We're nosing it while we taste it. I'm gonna hijack this. So what years were you at USC?
So I was there 97 to 01. So Pete Carroll's first year was my last year.
Okay,
Nice.
So I was on the starting defense with Troy Palomalo.
that's
That's really
fucking
cool.
awesome. My question to you, as you know, Michigan State fan, this has been a big day for us. We've had 2 kids enter the portal, including one that it's kind of been, as far as basketball goes, apologies there. He's been really a lifelong fixture of the program, and talent-wise, it can be maybe a little difficult to replace, but more of the character and replacing him as a fixture in the program is going to be difficult, and I don't think anyone thought he was going to leave. So it's a big day for Michigan State and talking about NIL, and supposedly last year he was offered a high six-figure, which is a high six-figure payday, which is a little surprising for him, and supposedly that's there for him this year. Really, for my question, as you've been integral in this process, is this what you envisioned? Is there anything you would change about right now versus what you maybe had
with NIL
fought for? Yes, NIL. What you had fought for 5-6 years ago. And it just as a caveat, I'm a big supporter of it. I think it's a little off the rails, but not with NIL. More of like the transfer portal and everything else.
Yeah.
But just curious on your thoughts.
I mean,
Good
look,
bourbon
at the
question.
end of the
Good
day,
bourbon
the idea of a student athlete was always a farce. You're an
Sure.
athlete student. Your schedule, you get to register for your classes. Your schedule is built around football or whatever your sport is you're doing, and you are an employee.
Yeah.
But you don't get any of the employee benefits. And also, they stripped away your rights to trade on your fair market value,
Sure.
the way any adult American can do.
Mm-hmm.
The transfer portal is just an example of capitalism. We saw with coaches. Coaches always went to bigger, better deals.
Yep.
You see, Gold Coast, whatever, has a run in the championship to the Sweet 16, and that coach is going to leave and he's going to get a bigger, better deal.
Like the next
So
day.
why is that not apply to anything else? And
Sure.
that's because the farce of the purity of college sports. It was never pure. Amateurism was always a farce in the sense that, look, when the Olympics came out, when Pierre Coubertin started the Olympics in 1892, 1896, it was built upon an amateurism model. The amateurism model had nothing to do with the ancient Greeks. The ancient Greeks, if you won an event, you didn't have to pay for an ouzo for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas the amateurism that really was about a separation of class, and the bourgeoisie, they didn't want the people that were working 6-7 days a week, 12 to 16 hours a day, to be able to best them at their leisure. And it was a way to keep their thumb on them. So the idea that the form of amateurism was about a separation of class, and then it evolved into that, and ultimately minority athletes and people that really don't come from a lot of money
Yeah.
are now making non-minorities a lot of money. School systems a lot of money,
Sure.
not just ticket sales, the intrinsic value that comes in, and they don't get a piece of that pie. So now we're just seeing the fair market at work.
Yep.
I'd say if there was anything that should be put in place, it's there's predatory representation. So there's agents out there and even schools that are taking bigger cuts than they should out of these deals. But yeah, these guys have this short window where they have
Yep.
value that they can trade on, and it can change their lives, it can change their families' lives. So right off the bat, it happened so fast, they didn't have financial literacy in place, the
Yep.
way that the NFL never did and the NBA never did, and these guys would go broke. And it's like the lottery. When people win the lottery, most people end up dead or broke within 10 years, and that's because most people play the lottery are poor.
Yeah.
And it's not that they're dumb, it's that they're surrounded by other poor people, and then they help those poor people, and then all of a sudden they don't have anything. And so now schools have become a little bit more mindful. They're providing financial literacy. So my film didn't really just focus on money. It was called The Business of Amateurs. It focused on academic integrity,
Yeah.
because it's about eligibility. It wasn't really about getting a degree, and that's why you open up your basketball, your football program, and you'll see 30 players undeclared, and the other 30 more are in sociology.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bullshit major that has an easy path in many of these schools. Sorry for all the sociology majors out there, but it's bullshit.
Yeah.
I see a lot of kinesiology too.
Communications and yeah.
Yeah, or what happened in North Carolina where they developed paper classes
Yeah.
for African American studies, and they failed to see the irony of forcing kids and steering them into that class and then not teaching them that class.
Yeah.
And then we focused on the medical side of it, and these guys that are getting chronic traumatic encephalopathy. And I don't think it's when we talk about my knee injuries, my back injuries, my shoulder injuries, yeah, you could say I signed up for that. I don't think I signed up for the long-term mental health issues that come from your brain cells being unmyelinated. And, you know, a lot of these guys that develop ALS or Parkinson's, or usually it's depression or anxiety, it's hard for them to come to terms with these issues that often get associated with their identity when they're very proud individuals by nature and what they've accomplished. So, there's a lot of nuances to the film, but as far as where we are now versus where we were 10 years ago when I was at the precipice of starting and researching and making that film, yeah, I think it's for the better. And nothing's going to be perfect, and you're not going to make everybody happy. And I'd say one of the biggest issues now with all these conferences is the amount of traveling that takes place. So there's not a lot of academics when you got to travel across the country every week. You know?
Multiple times a week, and especially like, you know, the instance of the Big Ten. You've seen the West Coast Big Ten teams voice their concern on it this year in basketball, because, you know, they have to take these road trips more often than the East Coast teams just because of the numbers and the teams. And even like USC and UCLA, when they're traveling to a West Coast team, Washington's not, you know, it's in the same time zone, but going up to University of Washington's not a short flight.
We go to Notre Dame, we get there on a Thursday. Yeah. Right? Acclimate and you know, that long trip that you're taking, or we'd play in Giant Stadium for some opener. It was always kind of that same thing. So a lot of that's going on is taking away from it. And look, I think you should be able to major in football. And maybe you don't call it that, but a lot of these athletes end up being coaches, and coaches are educators, and they're motivators, and there's psychology behind it. And there's a lot of tools that you could give them and resources that actually complement what they're already doing and what they're eventually going to do, instead of steering them into something that's not usable.
Yeah. And one of the things about the kid that announced the portal today for Michigan State is, you know, he's not an NBA player. You know, he might be an overseas, you know, guy, maybe an Australia league or something like that, and certainly can make a very great living doing that. You know, you're not in a country with your family and friends to be able to do that beyond your college. So it's really tough to have any animosity towards someone that's like, hey, I can go make $800,000 for 1 year. You know, I played, you know, pretty good ball for the last 3 years. 1 year I can go make $800,000, and that's 8 years of playing overseas. How can you tell him, you know, how can you be upset about that? Right. You know, how can you say that's not right? They shouldn't be earning that. It's just, that's
a lot of people can't separate the fanaticism from the players that are going there who are trying to make better, like the best life decision for them. Yeah, and that's the problem.
It's a religion.
For a lot of we compare, fans, it is. Yeah.
So
we compare the stadiums to cathedrals, and really that idea that there's, you know, the opening of my film is coming out of the tunnel. There's this, we've romanticized this sensation, and what's it like to run out of the tunnel? And the end of the film is actually going back into the tunnel, because it's meant to be introspective about, all right, how do we undo some of this element without breaking apart? So the thing that I had to reconcile, the influence that comes with making the film, was I'm proud of what I did as a college athlete. You know, I love that I'm a Trojan. And how do I reconcile the fact that I want these things to change? And people are like, you're trying to ruin college sports. I'm like, no, this is what we do with our friendships and our family and our loved ones and things that we care about, is that we push them to be better. Sure. And that's the place that we're coming from.
One of the...
Let's let Harrison Ford take back the plane for a minute. And, sorry, Air Force One.
You landed on a golf course down here.
We're on number 3, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about that for a minute.
The nose is fantastic.
I've been nosing it for however long you hijacked this thing.
Nicolas Cage.
Well, I was doing, who was it? Gary Oldman for Air Force One?
I was thinking Con Air.
Yeah, that's why I said Air Force One.
It's either get off my plane
or put the bunny back in the box.
Dude, his accent is so bad in that, but it's still I love it though.
It's
like
good.
Steve Buscemi.
Stanley Goodspeed. You know the origin of your name, Stanley. That's my show.
The Rock. Yeah, no, the Rock's a fantastic one. That was one of my favorites growing up.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Still holds up.
Yeah,
definitely.
Still holds up.
All right. So what do you guys get on the nose? I know we talked a little bit about this, but there's some really interesting stuff going
There's
on here.
really interesting stuff.
I know you mentioned your popcorn and your penis skin.
I'm getting cherry too. It's called foreskin.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay. Yeah, I get cherry. I'm gonna go ahead and take a drink now, so that while I'm drinking it, it's fresh on my mind, and I don't have to wade through Tyler's bullshit.
This one's wild. This is one that I remember the Bourbon Junkies who were for digital video on just this whiskey. This one can blew everyone's minds. This is one of the ones, and this was a bottle that I think we sold for $77. That when it came out, it was in sold it for over 100. Was traded outside of the state. But this is a curveball that we didn't know existed, and it's the story behind it is fucking nuts.
Okay. What do you guys get on the palate?
I get black licorice, big time.
Yeah,
I'm quite fond of that anise.
That anise, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you get as well? I'm assuming, or no?
I get the anise on it for sure.
I get it, and I'm not a fan of that. And it's interesting because as much as I really was enjoying the nose, it was almost like a smack to the face for me.
No, I really like the palate on this.
I don't dislike it at all. And I don't know. I don't know that I get the black licorice per se.
I get like this brown butter too.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that are trying to make it
there.
redeemable for me, but that black licorice keeps kind of like as soon as those other things fade away, the black licorice comes back and takes over for me, and that makes it tough for me to enjoy this one. But again, I mean that's how bourbon is, right? Like you have, like you said, 3 people in a group like one, and one person doesn't, and vice versa on another. And I'm not saying that I don't, like you said, I don't necessarily dislike this, but that anise just keeps coming back. Like as soon as the other good flavors that I'm getting out of this kind of fade away, that's what comes back and stays on my tongue and stays in my
it's
mouth.
giving me a little bit of an elevated mouth experience. So I'm thinking this is more along the lines of 110 proof.
I haven't even gotten to proof yet because I was getting. Let me.
I feel like it's close to 100 proof personally.
Yeah, I feel like it's a little over, maybe 105, 107, something like that. But you know what? Now that I go back to the nose, I'm getting that black licorice all day long.
I was the same way when I went back to the nose.
It's interesting.
I agree on the proof that it's over 100.
Yeah.
Enjoyable, but it's that black licorice just keeps it like I could keep drinking it and keep the black licorice off to the side, but as soon as like the aftertaste for me is just pure black licorice. So this is probably my least favorite, but I would drink this. Like I would have, if this was a full size pour, I would have finished it, no problem.
So do you guys remember when Templeton did that whole story about like this is what Al Capone drank, and then we found out they were just sourcing MPP and it was all bullshit.
So this is the Untouchables,
so
the
Templeton
Prohibition?
basically hijacked this brand.
Yeah.
And its story. So the guy that started this, his grandmother was the most famous female bootlegger. She was in Iowa. The train would stop at the back of her house. They'd load up the whiskey, and this was one of Al Capone's favorite whiskeys. And after he passed, the guy eventually, the foreign pastor of the family, the guy dug up some of the property and started finding all these stills and started finding barrels and all these 15-gallon barrels. And as the grandmother would say, you can run with a 15-gallon barrel, you can't run with a 55-gallon barrel. And this is a true Prohibition style recipe. In fact, we don't even know if this is technically this is not whiskey because of the requirements for what whiskey is. This just has 4 ingredients in it: water, 100% bread rye, yeast, and sugar cane. And the sugar cane automatically makes it not whiskey.
Not whiskey.
And so it's funny because this says Iowa Legendary Rye on it. That's the name of the brand, Iowa Legendary. And so they have a red label, they have a black label, and they have a purple label. And the purple label is really expensive, like $250 bottle. And the gold that they came out was a hybrid blend of all 3 of them. The proof is 105. It's non-age stated. We think that the nose is kind of funky, that there's like a minty time to it. There's a maple donut. There's Treminano sugar.
Yeah, there was, yeah.
aromatic bitters, buttered bread. The tasting notes, we had melted caramel, cinnamon, orange studded with nutmeg. So we didn't get any anise notes on it. Part of me wonders, when you have whiskey like this that sits around, does it change in the bottle? This is literally what Al Capone drank. This is the whiskey that they made back then.
I mean, if it had sugar cane in
finish
it, it's possible that it could continue doing something in the bottle.
It definitely could, and it's one of those things where the story was so rich and it was authentic in itself that we said, let's do it. And this is one of those things that people don't know that this is a rye. People really think that this is a bourbon because of that sugar, because it's so sweet. But yeah, the Bourbon Junkies went and bought a bottle of it. They did a whole video. They literally went onto our site and bought a bottle. I probably would have just sent them a bottle, but saying, we got you, Dan and Sean, don't worry. We would have sent it to you. But this was one of those bottles that people went nuts for, and they bought a ton of it. And but yeah, it's not really well distributed. It's not super accessible, but it's got a killer story, and it's super unique. There's not a lot of whiskey that tastes like this.
What was the name of it again?
Iowa Legendary.
Iowa Legendary.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like you said, I was thinking it was a bourbon when I was drinking it.
I never thought it was a rye.
Yeah, and so the buttered, you said the buttered bread, I could see that because we were getting like buttered popcorn and caramel. We got all that kind of stuff. But it's interesting to me because I did get the black licorice note, and once I got it, I couldn't get rid of it. And for me, that's not enjoyable. But I was tasting other things in there, like you said, brown sugar and some, caramel and other things came through, and even corn, which is interesting because there was no corn in this, right? So,
yeah.
So that's very interesting to me.
It's misleading. It's nuanced, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say the last sample that you guys are going to do, I think everybody's going to like it. I think it's going to be hard to not like it. It's one of those, in my opinion.
Well, I think I'm already liking
you guys
the
already
nose.
pour it?
Yeah, he
just poured
poured
it.
nose in it while you were talking there. Yeah, I'm already, I think, enjoying the nose.
That's I get like a confection sugar, it's pretty sweet there.
There's definitely a sweetness.
There's like a stone fruit.
Yeah, dark. Yeah, stone fruit. That's good.
Stone fruit.
Fruit. Yeah. Definitely some sweetness. I feel like there might be some wood, maybe.
My first initial thought was some char,
Yeah.
like some smokiness.
And I can't tell wood or tobacco or something, but I'm assuming a little bit more age on this one potentially, but I can't tell for sure. I'll have to wait till I take a drink. But
I used to joke with my brother all the time.
but you stop now.
You brought up Pete Carroll, and I always call my brother when I see him on the sidelines. I'm like, is he sponsored by Wrigley? Because nobody chomps gum quite like him.
He does.
He's got that ADD. I'll tell you a great Pete Carroll story. So, by the time I was a senior, we had run through so many coaches. This was my fourth year. I was considering just maybe graduating, in 4 years and just being done with it all. I was pretty disillusioned. And Ed Ogeron, the former LSU coach, he was my D-line coach for 4 years, and he's a psycho. And
he sounds like Boomhauer.
But
he's maybe the worst human being ever been around. But
he sounded like the coach from Waterboy.
Yeah.
We watched Waterboy with Coach O.
Yeah.
When he's running laps, he goes, "Oh, skilly old," looking at him. We all laughed, But yeah, I could tell you a million Coach O stories, but he was a scary dude, and he'll fight you, and he'll take his shirt off and try to fight you. He doesn't give a shit. He's just one of those dudes, And I don't tell all the bad stuff about Coach O. I know where the bodies are buried. And I don't want to be on one of them.
That's great.
But he would just show up and go, "What's wrong? Where you at?" And, I guess when you're born in the swamp, like the version of hello or what's up is where you at? Where you at?
Yeah.
What's wrong, Bobby? What's wrong? Where you at?
My mama said there was
a guy
gators or so.
Time.
Sorry.
Coach Joe, because he's got that addictive personality, and he can't do any hard drugs anymore, so he's just chewing on coffee grounds and shit
anymore.
And he was just choking on a coffee ground, and this Anthony go, "What's wrong, Coach?"
Anybody jumping in to rescue him?
He always had you go, "Where you at, Andy?" He goes, "I'm right here, Coach. What do you think? I'm right here." He always had a response for him, Anthony. But Pete Carroll, so it was raining. He had just been our coach for like a few weeks. He didn't come from anywhere. He wasn't some iconic coach before he got there. And it was raining, and February workouts suck because you're in season shape, and now you're really going to be in pain for like a few weeks while you're getting in conditioning. So it's raining. We go in the gym, and there's a list of everyone separating into groups of 3, and I'm like doing the math. I'm like, there's going to be 40 stations. We're fucked. And it turned out it was a 3-on-3 round robin basketball, double elimination basketball tournament. So it was timed. It was good team building. It was good conditioning, right? And somehow, like, our tight end, our backup running back, and our backup DB, like, who were all all-star, like all-state basketball players, ended up on the same team. We're just destroying everybody. They're doing like, 360 windmill dunks and shit. And so Pete Carroll comes up with Kennedy Pola, our running back coach, who's 300 pounds, and our offensive line coach, who's 400 pounds. And Pete says, "How about your best guys against me and my guys?" And we're just laughing because, like, oh, he's going to humble himself in front of us by getting beat by his own players. And that is not what happened. They were running fucking plays. The fucking 400-pound dude is just setting screens, and dude's just fucking dropping. And he smashed them 11-2. He was 6 for 7 from the 3-point line, just fucking crushed. He had a sweet shot. I mean, he's an athlete. He's out there before practice throwing like 40-yard bombs. You know what I mean? So it was this. It was kind of like Goldie Hawn and Wildcats, where she fucking outran everybody until they dropped and shit. It was like reference. That kind of moment. So
that's a cool story.
Yeah, that's great.
You guys owe me a stopwatch.
Well, come on, Gerulo. But yeah.
Bird? Oh, God, I love that movie. Have you guys seen the meme or the whatever talking about Michael Jordan's the GOAT? And then they say, no, Wesley Snipes is the GOAT. And it talks about all the sports movies that he's in. He's like, he led the league or the city league championship in football, talked about Major League, playing baseball there, being a coach at like on one of those movies. I don't remember which one it was. And then it mentions White Man Can't Jump. Talking about how he went and ran the outdoor league and that kind of stuff. It was pretty funny. It's a good one.
My favorite Wesley Snipes line is, of course, there's always bet on black. There's that, right? Yeah. 51. But the best is in Blade. It's like he kills the guy at the end of Blade, and you're always waiting for some,
smart ass
like
type,
a Schwarzenegger line, like, let off some steam, Bennett. You're waiting for some fucking line that's related to the death.
Yeah.
He goes, no matter where I go, motherfuckers always trying to skate uphill. And I was like, what? Skating uphill, I guess. What? I'm like, okay, end of the movie. End of the movie line.
Credits.
Mic drop, I guess.
What if I say this? All right, Wesley, you've been asking all movie. We'll let you say this one.
I don't think any motherfuckers are skating anywhere from where you're from, Wesley. But I'll go with that.
Oh, shit. That's great.
And it's ice skate. I think it's like trying to ice skate uphill. I'm like, what? I don't know.
Yeah. That's whatever. All right,
what are you guys getting on this sample deep?
This is really good.
That's real good.
Did you already drink some of it?
Yeah, I did. That sweetness confectioner sugar comes through on the palate as well. There is a fruit note in there for me.
It's got a good mouthfeel
on the palate. Yeah,
this one has the best viscosity of all of them so far. I do get a little bit of oak though on the finish. Like there's a little bit of tannicness, but not like what we talk about. How we like it, but it's not like drying my mouth out or anything. It's just there. But yeah, the mouthfeel on this one.
Good proof too.
Yeah, this is good. You haven't said anything, have you?
Not yet. I'm still analyzing.
Analyzing?
That'll be later. It is Pegging Tuesday.
So did you say you're from the Midwest? Or did I read that somewhere?
A lot of people think I am.
Oh, okay.
I'm friendly.
I about spit out my whiskey.
Go, you from the Midwest? And I'm like, no, I'm from LA, but you gotta understand, nobody's from LA.
Yeah.
Everybody's a transplant, and so they're always like, "Oh, you're from LA?" I'm like, "Wait a minute, you like packed up all your shit, like gave some of it to your mom because you couldn't bring it all, and you moved to where I just happen to be born, and I'm a fucking asshole." No, you're the asshole.
Yeah.
But
What part of LA?
I'm originally from the San Fernando Valley,
Okay.
and now I live in Westlake. So
That is pretty funny that you say that. I think all the people that I've met from LA that grew up in LA are just really nice people. And all the people that I've met in LA that are assholes are transplants. I honestly,
that's
because
what
I
it
used to work for a company in El Segundo, and I used to go out there all the time. And every time I would go out there, if I had any interaction with someone who was an asshole, they weren't from LA. They just lived there. But the people that I worked with that were just great people were all from there. It was funny that you say that. That's interesting.
yeah, LA's got a lot of bullshit. Bullshit attracts the flies, right? So you get a lot of these. But it's funny, Westlake is interesting because like Calabasas kind of came up because of the Kardashians, and like so that's like the really bougie. But Westlake is like Calabasas adjacent, so we got Josh Brolin, Joe. You'll see his big ass head at the In-N-Out.
That's funny.
And I think Britney Spears moved out here, and Gretzky's up in the fucking hills over here. So there's some really really rich like $80 to $120 million homes up.
So the hills have eyes.
That is a terrible, terrible joke.
And Thousand Oaks is right there.
That's right. Yeah, that's where my house is.
Yeah.
Do you think these things through before you say them out
No.
loud? Jesus,
He's
Bethany.
mentioning a horror
So-
movie that opens up with a raper and
Is it?
kids get murdered and set on fire, and it's like, this reminds me of the Hills Have Eyes.
Oh, shit.
I know it's towards the water, and it might be a little south, but Pepperdine University is
Beautiful campus.
that is like one of the most underrated campuses of all time. What'd you say?
It's not really a fun school.
No, no,
USC
for sure not.
had the option to be there, but
Oh,
it's
really?
really a commuter school, and yeah, it is gorgeous. It's up on the hill. They got that lawn that's right on the coast, and yeah, go get your law degree from there. Like,
Yeah.
go get your graduate degree at Pepperdine. Be one of the waves. But I talk people out of Pepperdine all the time.
Oh, okay.
Like, you're gonna fucking hate it. Like, do you want to party? Do you want to make friends? No, we'll go to Pepperdine. You do? Well, don't go to Pepperdine. You're gonna fucking hate it.
Yeah, that's funny.
I like it.
All right, what did you ever get done analyzing this one?
Yeah. I'm getting like toffee notes. I'm not getting a whole lot on it because I feel like I still got remnants of the sample 3, which was a little overpowering, I think, for me.
I got past it at least.
This one, to me, tastes underproof from sample C as well. So like I'm getting 90-ish proof vibes out of it just because I feel like I wish I had this one first.
He's gonna make his own movie. It's gonna be called Analyze This.
Yes.
But,
You know what the follow-up's going to be? Analyze that.
But here's the thing: he's already made the movie.
Urban Plowboy.
Plowboy.
The Bourbon Plowboy?
Is the plowboy the
Urban
receiver?
Plowboy. It's the Urban Cowboy.
Oh,
The funniest one I ever saw was "You Got Mail." Genitalia.
well, his movie Analyze This is already making the circuits in the underground, so it'll probably make it out to LA soon.
This time
It's
you got
already on
pink eye.
Pornhub, right?
Yeah, it's called This Time You Got Pink Eye.
Anyway, I would agree with you on the proof of this one. It feels less. Oh, I wouldn't be surprised if it was like in that 100 range, but it feels like a mid 90 to me. Yes, I am trying to get it back on the rails. That's what I'm doing.
You guys are getting off the rails.
Jesus.
It's been pretty on point up to this point, but no, you guys are off on the proof.
Well,
It's the hottest one.
No
Really?
way.
I was going to say I wouldn't be
was gonna say,
surprised
like,
if it was hotter, but it
115.
doesn't finish like it's hotter,
Yeah, I wouldn't guess
and
that.
it doesn't drink like it's that hot. But
It's
I was
dangerous. It's one of those. It's
Okay.
just
No shit.
such a smooth,
You were saying
easy
115?
drinker.
Yeah.
all right. I mean, Tyler's
I
the
love
only
it
one.
when-
I daily sip the shit out of that.
Yeah.
Well, but we daily
No,
sip the
it's-
shit out of all cask strengths.
So this is 118 proof. This is out of Steamboat Springs, Colorado. This is Mythology. I don't know if you guys have heard
no.
Mythology.
No.
So they're sourcing and blending. So they're getting bourbon from Kentucky, Indiana, see. This is a mix of the 15-year, 5-year, and 3-year different bourbons that all have different mash bills. But there's peanut brittle, that we get in cornbread with wildflower honey on the nose, candied almonds, rich caramel, toasted grain, strawberry frosting, cherry, pipe tobacco, peanut dust on the taste, and a long decadent finish with vanilla bean, creme brulee, and black currant.
I want all that.
What is there an age statement for this? Or I know it's a blend, but
It's a blend. So technically, you have to go with the
Right.
whenever you have to go with the lowest. So 3, right?
Oh,
but
did he say 3?
There's
I didn't hear that.
15. Well, there's 15, 5, and 3.
15,
it's a
5, and 3.
mix.
Okay. I pulled a
And these
timer
guys
and
are just doing
wasn't
what's going to
listening.
taste best.
Yeah,
Blending
yeah.
is difficult. Everyone has that buddy that thinks they can blend. They're like, look at what I made, guys. And I'm like, oh,
That's
you fucked it
JD.
up,
He's like, I made my own LTO.
I
It's
did.
always that.
I took a bunch
Did
of
you?
my Four Roses single barrel strengths to create my own small batch limited edition.
And it was so limited that nobody wanted it.
I mean, you can't go wrong with Four Roses.
Yeah,
You can.
if you
Yeah.
blend
You
it
can.
wrong. If you blend
Makes
it
all their
wrong.
recipes. Most people that are blending, I get a really bad maple note on the back end. It just shows that they didn't balance it out. That they just threw stuff that they like together and thinking about what each of them has done. Have you guys ever heard of Cali Gold? Version
No.
of Cali Gold. So there's 3 guys that had killer palates that decided to take a blend, and nobody knows what the recipe is except for these 3 guys. We know that there's some purple tops involved. We know that there's some stag involved. And some of them, it wasn't just blending these things. It was the perfect amounts of each of them to create this balance. And they took this blend of their bottles and they entered it into the San Francisco Spirits Competition, and they won. And obviously there was issues with that because they didn't make their own thing. They didn't legally source it. They're just pouring bottles into a blend. And now there is this underground society that if you know one of these guys or you know somebody that knows them, you can get the original Cali Gold. And it costs you about $350, $375 milliliters, but it's fucking phenomenal. I can get it, and it's really, really good. But 2 of the guys went on to run distilleries in San Diego and other spots, and the other guy, Randall, is just kind of this mysterious figure that's behind the scenes. But the legend of Cali Gold is, if you go out there and you can find it, but it's really hard to get.
That's interesting.
I just heard about it.
That's kind of cool. Yeah, I like stuff like that.
Yeah.
But these amateur blenders, right? They put in 4% of Four Roses, LE or something, and they figured out the tasting notes and the balance of it. They really did all this math behind. There were these mad scientists behind the scenes. It's kind of cool.
That is cool. We were talking with Wilderness Trail just the other night, and they were talking about how they're recreating yeast strains, which I just think is interesting. Trying to,
Fermilab,
yeah.
Dr. Pat. That's how they finance their whole operation. Over there.
Yeah. No, that's who we talked to. Yeah, he was a great guest. He was really fun to talk to. And JD got to nerd out with him. So
Yeah, dude, we party with him, and he's in a rock band. He plays in a metal cover band.
yeah, that's kind of him and Shane. That's how they started. Yeah.
He's cool as fuck.
So I really enjoyed this. This is how do they find out when they do the kit what it was that they're drinking?
So there's a QR code on the tasting table that you guys have.
Yep.
Our current kits now have the QR code is on the bottles. So if you lose the tasting table, whatever, you can always look up this particular sample B. And yeah, we've gamified it. So now you can guess the age, the proof, and the type of whiskey. And you'll get a score that actually tells you how accurate your palate is. So the gamification to me is just something that makes it more engaging, more fun.
Sure.
You guys do a kit together and you guys all do the game. Losers got to buy the others their favorite bottle in the lineup or something, raise the stakes, and then, you can, once again, you can look at all the tasting notes. You can look at the age, the proof, the type of whiskey. You can look at all of that. And then if you want to buy a bottle, you can buy a bottle. And we do flat $15 shipping, so you can get 20 bottles and it's $15 shipping.
Nice.
And then we also just give really killer prices on the bottles, so we don't gouge our members. If you're not a member, then you don't get member pricing. But the members get really awesome pricing. And most people come for the blinds, but honestly, I think they stay because they're getting access to really cool stuff. The blind is fun, but the lineups are getting more and more curated. Like that sample that you just had, I think all of our last lineups have just been really different and nuanced, but just all bangers. I mean, all bottles that I would want to have in my house.
Yeah, this was definitely enjoyable, and these were all things I would have never purchased. So that's a great. This is a great way, I feel like, for you to get a hold of things that, you're not committing to a full bottle of something and then being like, oh, great, I just spent $80 on this and it's a piece of crap. You're whatever the monthly fee is, you're getting 4 samples, and then potentially, it's almost like going to a bar, trying something out, but you're getting access to stuff that most bars aren't even going to have in front of you. I mean, you go to a bar, unless it's a bourbon bar and specific whiskey type bar, they have Maker's Mark and Old Forester and, a couple of things, Elijah Craig, and a couple of maybe things that everyone's just, searching for. But outside of that, you're not getting, these types of, hidden type, secret type whiskeys that the rest of the country doesn't know about or isn't chasing down and stuff like that. So that's cool.
Sometimes they're only available in their native state. So there's a process that we have to do to get them into the state where our fulfillment partner is. And then, we work in 44 states, and then it can ship out to all of them. So it's literally stuff that you couldn't buy any other way until they were in the lineup. And that's kind of what's cool because, distribution, when Prohibition ended, the Mafia didn't leave. Some of them got into distribution. And,
true story.
They control shelf space, and there's a reason why you see the same things, the same familiar faces, and the same bottles at all of the bars that you go to.
Right.
And there's 3,000 brands that you haven't heard of and you haven't tried.
Yeah.
Some of them suck, and some of them are better than. I'm just saying, we kissed a lot of frogs, but some of them are better than.
For sure. And so, I mean, I know we're at an hour and 20. We're a little over what we normally do, but want to make sure that you get your name out there as far as where we can find you, how you go about signing up if you want to, and then if you're on Instagram or any social media type of stuff, just, how to follow you.
You can go to blindbarrels.com. You can find our handle at Blind Barrels on any of our handles, whether it's TikTok or IG. You can find it, Blind Barrels and all that. And look, if you use the code Whiskey10, it'll take 10% off of anything. So if you want a tasting glass, you want one of these premium dope hats, you want just a one-off kit, you don't want to become a member, or you do a quarterly or an annual. And so the annual is $250. That includes the price of 4 shipments. So you're prepaying for 4 shipments to your door. So we're technically, our biggest competitor is 320, and they do samples only 4. Their stuff is stuff that you can get at your Total Wine and Liquor Barn and Bevmo. And then a quarterly is with shipping is $74.99. So that's shipped to your door. So, but if you want to just try it out, there's a one-off kit. If you don't want to become a member yet, you just want to see if you like it. And if blind tastings aren't for you, then and you want to just stick to what you normally get, there's nothing wrong with that. We have no judgment on how anybody wants to drink their whiskey, what they want to drink. We're big proponents of respecting everybody where they are in their whiskey journey and where they want to be. And we do have master classes on our site. We do live tastings, so you can come join us. You can come shoot the shit with us. And if you hit up our support line, you're going to get me. Get me. I'm going to handle it. I handle all our customer service stuff because I'd like to get stuff done in less than 24 hours. And I'll do that as long as I can continue to do that.
That's
awesome.
cool.
Very cool.
I think, for anyone out there who is just, I don't want to say like in a rut with their whiskey, but they just want, something different and access to a few different things here and there that you aren't going to necessarily see and just tired of buying all the same stuff. I think this is a brilliant way to do that. I think, like you said, you're not going to like everything. You might only like 2 things in a shipment, but you're at least going to get access and see some things that you did like that you probably weren't going to see most places. So I think this is really cool. So I want to thank you for coming on. You've been a great guest. This is thanks for leading us through this blind. If you ever want to come back on, you're more than welcome. I really enjoyed this, and from a consumer perspective, I think everything you're doing looks great. This looks very professional. It looks very polished and finished. You're like everything from the logo to the presentation of the bottles to the delivery and 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 stupid stuff like the cardstock that the paper is printed on. It's hefty, it's heavy duty. The
One signature. That's a real signature.
I saw that at the bottom.
Yeah, but I mean that's what I mean. Like, so all those things. This is a very heavy paper. This is a nice finished marketing looking
Very well
diagram
done.
with the tasting table. So I think all of this is really well done, and I don't think you can go wrong if that's where you're at in your whiskey journey. Like you said, is you're wanting new things and trying new stuff.
I'm definitely a professional looking marketing slut too. So
Oh yeah, my wife, I call her a packaging.
yeah,
whore.
if it's not like it, I'm just like I'm out.
What's the movie where they're comparing cardstock business cards?
Shit.
American Psycho.
Is it American Psycho?
Ah.
Yes. So
It
you
is.
would
What
win.
is that? Bone?
Christian Bale, yeah.
Yeah.
Christian Bale.
Yep.
Yeah. That's a
You would win
It's bone
in
and
that
he's
kind of a
just sweating.
competition.
Yeah. That's
Well, I
funny.
appreciate you guys having me on, and yeah, what I'd like to do is as we get closer to, because we don't like to reveal everything that's in our current lineup. As we get closer to that, yeah, I'd love for you to try our March or June box further down the line and
Sure.
really have you guys experience the game yourself.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, that'd be fun.
but you guys got to put a bottle on the line. Either like you guys got to figure out like some unicorn bottle you got. The winner, everyone ponies up. And winner
Blind
takes all.
tattoo. You don't get to pick what you get.
I've already got one of those.
It's only 1 penny on GoDaddy right now.
Right?
That's funny.
Some blind person that just yeah, before Blind Barrels was out, if you looked at Blind Barrels, the only thing that was out there was about 15 videos of blind people surfing. Barrels.
That's funny.
Not anymore. We got it. Fuck you, blind surfers.
That's
People
good.
go over Niagara in barrels.
But they're not blind.
They are now.
They are when they're
I
done.
was gonna say,
To
when they're done.
survive, it was an old woman in the
Yeah.
60s. She was old. She married and she became famous for it.
Yeah.
There you go. I've been trying to get Meryl Streep to do that movie for years, but she won't do it.
Because she doesn't
I'm
do her
gonna
own
put her over a
stunts.
barrel.
Yeah.
All right, well, thanks, guys.
Hey, appreciate
Thank you
it.
for joining us.
Thank you.
Really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Thank you. Have a good night. Thank you for joining us on yet another Hunt for Bourbon. Please give us a 5-star review anywhere you are listening, but if you don't, leave some constructive criticism in the review so that we can better improve our show. But until then, sit back, grab a pour, kick up your feet, and enjoy some bourbon. The Bourbon Hunters podcast has been craft distilled, produced, recorded, and edited by Dude Pool. For any questions, comments, or recommendations, please reach out to info@bourbonhunters.com